Hello, friends. Welcome back to our Dream Big Nation podcast. I'm Lisa Williams, your host, and we are bringing stories of inspiration and motivation from business builders and experts from all walks of life. And I'm really excited to introduce my new friend, Mr. Dan Christopherson. Welcome to our show, Dan.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, I want to give you just a few words about this man. You know, he hails from a beautiful state like I do out in Utah. And we actually met at a beautiful mastermind that he was privileged to be one of our hosts on this amazing hike that we went on. And I just really, love your energy, Dan, and what you're doing in business and supporting others in your community. So I'm excited to just share your story about what you're doing at Pinnacle and how you're serving others in really amazing ways. So, I would love for you to share just maybe a 1-minute background about, what this world of adventure has done for your life personally, because I know that's really the core at how you started your business.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. So from a young age, I was introduced to the outdoors. I had family that got me outside. We would go down, to southern Utah, to the desert. We would go into the Wasatch Mountains, hiking, backpacking, on camping trips. And then as I got older, I got into, mountain biking and rock climbing and ice climbing, which have all become big passions of mine. And while doing so, I realized that those activities and that challenging myself outside really helped me grow personally, whether that was physically from a health standpoint, to spiritually being outside and connecting, with centering myself and connecting to God. It was very, very impactful in that way. And then also from a mental toughness standpoint, being able to push myself to try new things, new challenges, and also socially being able to work with others in these environments has really connected me with some amazing people and helped me feel like I'm able to work as a team and with others in many ways. So the outdoors has taught me many things that has been very influential and impactful in my life.
Yeah, you said something once when we first met about the idea that when you continue to seek ways, areas that are uncomfortable, it really can help you grow in so many ways. Speak into that. That discomfort factor is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, definitely. So I think all of us in life realize that there's challenges and difficulties that come, right? That's just a part of what life's all about. But when we are willing to step into those states of uncomfort or into challenging um, situations, that's where I feel the most growth comes. And it's something that just happens naturally in our life, whether we like it or not. We're going to have challenges that come our way. But there are also challenges that we can accept into our life, whether that's starting a new business or engaging in some type of education or starting a family or, you know, being willing to get up and do something uncomfortable, like, get up and speak in front of a group or something, if that's uncomfortable to you. Those are really great opportunities for us to grow and to progress. And for me, challenging myself in the outdoors, whether that's, ice climbing or rock climbing or, canyoneering, where there's definitely some challenges associated in difficult times where you really have to dig deep and kind of focus and look inward and also look outward to others in order to overcome these challenges. There's a lot of growth that comes there and a lot of confidence that I feel can be utilized in other aspects of life, in business, in family life, in relationships that I've been able to look back on and draw kind of nuggets of strength from that have helped me. And so being willing to challenge myself or helping other challenge themselves in these outdoor experiences, I feel is not only going to help them obviously with struggles and with that current situation, but hopefully long term in other aspects of life, whether that's family, work life, or just personal growth.
I know we have our faith in common, and I just personally feel like that's where God's always met me the most, is when I'm kind of in that pit, right? That
Yeah.
is, don't really know how I'm going to get out of, but I know if once I get on the other side, it is going to be something that can bring fruit to my life and things. You spoke to me about, we've talked a lot about mentorship, and you shared with me one of your mentors in life that you really relied on and learned so much from, but also lost him unexpectedly doing what he loved. But share with us about the role of mentorship in your life and some of what's helped you.
Yeah. So definitely mentorship in the climbing world, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and in the outdoors, is a huge aspect of kind of how that world works, so to speak. We're always looking for those that know what they're doing when we're getting into that environment, and especially in that environment where there are consequences of not knowing what you're doing, right? And so it's often found in climbing that you're going to be mentoring the up and coming generation, the next group or others, and you've also received mentorship. And one of the great mentors in my life, who I feel very privileged to have got to know and to be mentored by, and to really have who became a great friend of mine, is a guy by the name of Scott Adamson. And Scott Adamson is a very just infectious, exciting guy that everyone is drawn to. And he was just always there, like getting people out, getting people excited. He's always like, yeah, let's get psyched, let's go after this, and let's see what we can do together and individually. And I was very inspired by him as a climber, but also as a person. And because he had put up for what we call first descents in the climbing world, where you climb a route for the first time without falling. And he had put up really bold first descents all over the world. Ice climbing was kind of his main, and alpine climbing were kind of his main fortes.
For a second grader, when it comes to climbing, does that mean like he was the first ever to do that climb? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Wow,
So when you
that's
get a
pretty
first
cool.
ascent, yeah, that's when you're the first person to go, or first, often you're climbing in a team of two or more, but the first team to like do a route, or sometimes if you're doing just like a smaller, shorter route, like what we call a single pitch route, where you're just climbing from the ground to an anchor point. It might just be you that got the first ascent. But he put up where he established routes and put up routes all over the world, including ice climbing in Zion, which who would have thought there's like ice climbing in Zion National Park in Utah, which is in the desert. Also in Alaska and in places all around the world. And it had many first ascents throughout Utah, and in places like Kyrgyzstan, and was working on routes in Pakistan. And so I remember when I first started interacting with Scott, it was in 2005 that I'd known about him from before, just because his reputation had preceded him. But we got connected kind of through the fact that he had just crashed. He had broken his collarbone earlier that year, dirt biking, and he had to take some time off of climbing. So he wanted to put his energy into something, and he started to mountain bike. And he got strong, and he decided to do a 24-hour race in Moab solo, and he needed a wrench, so a mechanic. And growing up, I spent a lot of time working in bike shops. And so we were able to connect. He invited me out to ranch for him. And then after that time, he connected me with a lot of his friends, and we started climbing together, and he kind of took me under his wing at times to help me progress as a climber. And I asked him, I said, Scott, what makes you different? You're able to accomplish all these amazing things. You're putting up first ascents around the world. You're inspiring so many people. Like, what's different about you? And he was a very humble guy, but I remember he thought about it for a second, and he said, I remember when I was young that my mindset was a little different than other people. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Um, what's that about? And he said, well, we'd be sitting in the climbing shop, and we'd be thumbing through magazines, and this was before social media, and we'd see some first ascent or some cool route that someone had put up, or some amazing feat that someone had accomplished. And he noticed that people around him would say, oh, that's amazing, but I could never do that. And that was kind of their mindset, where he would look at it and say, that's amazing. I can't do that now, but what are the steps that I need to take in order to get to the point where I can do it? And then he would make a plan, and he would work his plan, and he would work very tenaciously. He was the hardest working guy I'd ever been around. I mean, we would go to the climbing gym, and I would be training with him. We'd first go to lift weights at just a regular gym. We'd go to the climbing gym, and I would be super tired after like following him around in the weight room. And then I would go to the gym, and he would just do lap after lap after lap on these routes, and he would come down just sweating, where I would be like, do a route, rest, want to do a route and rest. And he just was by far the hardest working guy I'd ever met. And he would accomplish amazing, amazing things. And a lot of people, one thing that I remember thinking before I actually started climbing with Scott, I remember seeing him in the climbing gym. And I remember him like running up this really hard, difficult finger crack, where you have to get your fingers in the crack because it's so narrow you can't get your hands in it. And he just worked his way up it. And I remember, no, I hadn't seen anyone else be able to climb that finger crack in the gym. And I remember thinking, Scott, that guy, he's just talented. He's just an amazing, talented individual, and that's why he can do it. But then after I got to know him and I saw him working, and I saw how hard he worked, and his vision and his execution on his vision and willingness to train, that it taught me that he was talented, but there was a reason he was talented. And the reason was he was putting in the effort with that right vision and that motivation.
And there's nothing more powerful than a made up mind. You and I are we're students of Think and Grow Rich. And that's one of my favorite things about that book, and now that movie, is, the idea of guarding your mind against all negativity, and just that focus and manifestation of what your dreams are about. I love the fact that, one thing that I was intrigued by you when I first met you and started to talk to you is there's a lot of people that pursue their passion, and outdoor, guiding. You had this guiding business that you were a solopreneur. And one thing I find is that a lot of solopreneurs get stuck because they almost trade one hamster wheel for another, because they're still really, really relying on what these two hands can produce. But at some point you had an opportunity to lock arms with someone else you were like-minded, you were doing similar things, but in different ways. And you've been able to really expand in so many ways your income stream, the people you're serving in different ways. So talk about that partnership, because I love it. I love how that just shows people, you don't just have to own a job. You can make this business, which should be an asset, really produce income for you, whether you're there or not, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. I think no one is going to be successful on their own. we all have to be able to connect and work with other people. And, each of us have different strengths and we each have different weaknesses. And so forming the right connections and the right partnerships can be critical to success, and to your overall, happiness, And so after I started my guiding company, which I love doing, taking people canyoneering and rock climbing and ice climbing, mountaineering, and to places here in Utah, but throughout the world. I realized that I wanted to do more than just, give them the experience, but also teach some, have some opportunities for reflection and teaching. And so I connected with some psychologists. I connected with some counselors, and as well as worked with some consulting companies and people that do personal growth and development. And so from that time, which was about 2007-ish, that I started doing that, I was able to develop some programs that are theory-based and research-based to help with personal growth and development, based off of theories on motivation, on high-performance teamwork, on resiliency, and along the way, I was able to connect with a guy who has now become my partner by the name of Alan Lewis. And Alan Lewis owns a very large travel company, which is Overseas Adventure Travel and Grand Circle Travel, which is based out of Boston. And he also has a large leadership development company, or group, it's actually a nonprofit that's based in New Hampshire, that has about 400 acres where they do experiential based leadership development. And so after connecting with him, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go out and to see the leadership training that they do, which is very well established and designed to help teams kind of, there's a lot to it, but kind of in short, identify what they want to do, what initiatives they want to move forward on, and then create plans of action as a team, and identify what we call the hot topics or the challenges that will affect their success, and then create plans of how to attack those or how to deal with those and manage those hot topics so that they can be successful. And there's a lot of accountability where you'll do training, or excuse me, you'll do this what we call an offsite, and then that in 3 months, a month, or 6 months, you're going to be returning and reporting on your plans of action and how you executed. But it's all reinforced experientially. So we use, here in Utah, we use the amazing resources that we have, like the canyoneering. I don't know if you've ever been canyoneering. Have you been canyoneering before?
No, I want to. I remember you, when we were hiking, you gave us that lesson about the carabiner, and to go home and give that to someone that has been, I can't remember exactly how you put it, but I did that for one of my mentors. But I love the idea of just, you really can't do this without others, right?
Yeah, that's right. And when we on that event we went up to Stewart Falls above Sundance, and when we had that discussion, Randy Garn, who's a good friend of mine and now yours, who helped with that, he gave you that carabiner, which kind of, in the climbing world, when you're roped together as a team, that's your connection to your team, like especially in different scenarios, like when we're crossing glacier fields with crevasses. And it's really important that you stay connected and you have those strong connections with other people on your team. And so, yeah, using these activities like canyoneering, which is where we go rappelling down through those, we go through the narrow slot canyons in southern Utah, which are beautiful, but there's challenges associated, like you have to go rappelling, or you'll have to down climb a section, but you have to you have to work at it as a team in order to get through it. Is kind of one of the one of those activities that we use for a reinforcement of leadership, where we bring in the theories of motivation, resiliency, high performance teamwork, etc. But we also do like ice climbing, we do mountaineering, which I feel is a great way to connect. But then we have activities where we'll bring in people from like the search and rescue, and we'll do these really cool search and rescue programs where you get training, and then you go on a mock call out, and you have to work as a team. We do snowshoeing, we do hiking, we do a lot of activities, but it's all designed to be outside where we can connect with the outdoors and really focus on what's most important in life, but then also connect, hopefully on a much deeper level, with those on our team, or with those that we're just meeting for the first time, as this is a great way to network and build relationships with other people.
There's something about achieving a physical challenge too. I remember I went through a divorce many years ago, and I've always been very goal oriented, and I decided I was going to run a marathon. And I'm not a runner, and I was running, I think I could run like a mile and a half when I first started, but I
Yeah,
joined a team in training. And literally in that 6 month span, I mean, we did the marathon. We finished it. And I did 4:42, which I apparently is pretty decent, you know.
that's awesome.
I
Yeah,
think I've ran like 5 times since then, right?
yeah,
I'm not a runner, but oh my goodness, that feeling I remember having of just accomplishing that and having that long-term goal that I thought, how the heck am I ever gonna do this? I feel like, Dan, there's so many people in life, and I think especially the last year and a half. For those watching this at a later time, or in the midst, we kind of are still in the thick of COVID, in a lot of ways. And so many people are really thinking like, what is my next chapter going to look like? How is it going to be different? And if you were giving advice to those people that may be thinking about taking a brave leap, maybe, stepping into this world of entrepreneurship, what advice would you give them?
okay, that's a good question. So yeah, this last year and a half has taught me a lot. Yeah, just looking back on it, when a lot of what we do now is with our international trips, helping like MBA programs execute on like an international trip that often they do, as well as companies. Because I feel like sometimes when you step away, you get a little further away from your home base. Sometimes that unfamiliarity and discomfort and can really be impactful for growth and change. But as you can imagine, during COVID, you know, pretty much all of our travel got shut down, where we were unable to do any real international travel. We had, I would say, 95% of all of our trips canceled in 2020, and then we had to make a lot of changes and adapt, and look at, well, what can we do domestically? What can we do here in the States that would still give a really cool like trip type of experience, retreat, offsite experience. And you're from Alaska. We were able to do an Alaska trip recently. We were able to do several other trips throughout the US, but it was through adapting. And kind of what I'm getting at is, if you step into the world of entrepreneurship, the biggest thing that you're going to face is roadblocks. There's going to be challenges. And if it's really easy to just want to give up when you hit those challenges, like not being able to, having everything canceled and having to figure out how to drive revenue when there is none, through the traditional sense. And so I think, for me, and then looking back at the outdoors, when you're climbing a mountain, when you're going to summit a mountain, it's never a straight, easy path that you're on, especially when you're trying something harder. You're figuring out where to go and the changes you need to make along the journey. You may have the summit in mind, but your path is going to change. You're going to hit this wall, this rock fall area where you're going to have to change and take a new direction, and being willing to make the changes and adjust for uncertainty, when or when the risk is too high, how to like navigate that and then still have the excitement and the motivation to keep going each day is probably, I think, the most important thing an entrepreneur can have, is just the willingness to keep going and being creative. Don't, when you hit the wall, don't turn around or stop, but figure out, how do you get over it? How do you go around it? How do you dig under it to keep moving forward? And just having that mindset of, it's okay that there's a roadblock. That's just a challenge that's going to help me grow and put an arrow in my quiver for next time when I face the
Yes.
next challenge.
Yeah, I feel like there's a mentor that I'm so very blessed to work with, and he has this saying that it's like, people have really stopped dreaming in a lot of ways, and he tells me, Lisa, dream dreams so big that when you accomplish them, only God gets the credit. And I think
Yeah.
you and I have similar kingdom-driven entrepreneurship in our world, and I think so many people, I find, I'll tell you, Dan, nobody ever took that class, what am I supposed to be when I grow up, right? And how many people do we know that they know that there's something more that they're meant to do, but they
Yeah.
just don't know what that is or what that looks like. And I think, especially with what's been going on, how important do you think it is? And maybe, how will your business be changed forever because of COVID, in terms of, having income in one basket? Or, we teach about the cash flow quadrant and how important it is to have multiple income streams. And I'm curious how things, have shifted, maybe what you're doing that you'll continue moving forward to maybe protect yourself from something that might happen again, right?
Yeah, no, that's good. So being able to adapt, like for us, for a time we were focused more on international trips, and because we had with the opportunities we had abroad and the resources we had abroad, that was really helpful. But as you can imagine, not being able to travel totally shut that down. And so we had to diversify and look at, put more energy into what can we do locally. I had been working locally for a long time and throughout Utah and the surrounding states doing various programming, and then looking at, well, how can we really focus more on that and look at what we have here domestically to drive things. But then also, there was a time when we couldn't do really much of anything or any interaction with other people. So we're looking at, well, what can we do online? So we started to do trainings and programs online, which so many people have. And it's really been exciting for me because it's taught me something that I should say, I'm still very much a student of this, but it's given me a direction to want to go more online, because if we can touch more people's lives
Yeah.
through the use of technology, then let's do it. And we're actually in process now of doing some documentary work.
Oh, I love it.
And yeah, we're about ready to launch a YouTube channel, and wanting to do more of our online coaching and training, and then give people the opportunity, the skills that then they could take and replicate some of these outdoor experiences closer to home and where they're at, whether that's with their teams, or even with their families
Yeah.
and their friends. So
Uh,
it's kind of, in a way, it was really hard, but it's now, I think our reach is going to be much better and
I agree.
broader
Yeah,
because of it.
I agree. I feel like, there's certainly, a lot of people that have struggled through COVID. I also think there's a really big part of our population that use that time and continues to use that time to evolve as we're meant to, and find new friends like you and I, and
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what God might do with our our new friendship, and how ways we can
definitely.
collaborate. So my friend, we are out of time already. I feel like I could
Oh,
continue talking with you for a long time, but
sorry, I kind of rambled on there, but
no,
I wanted to
you
say,
didn't. You're passionate, man. I love
yeah.
it.
Well, what you're doing is amazing, and you please keep it up. You're really helping a lot of people. From the very get-go when we first met, I knew that you had a special spirit about you and desire to help and benefit people and help them grow. And so continue to do what you're doing. It's awesome. And
Thank
if there's
you.
any way we can serve you in any way, please reach out.
There
Or
is, in fact, I really want to. I'm intrigued about the nonprofit component to
yeah,
your business, because one of the missions at our firm, we are on a mission to empower, equip, and inspire 1 million people to hire themselves in our greater mission to create a tribe of 7-figure givers. So we are huge into philanthropy, and I love partnering with nonprofits to teach them how to create their own wealth streams instead of being
awesome.
relying on donors and the more traditional fundraising and things. So let's make sure we carve out some time to talk more about that. So Dan, where can our friends find you, and just give us a place to go to make sure if people want to follow up with you, they can do that.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. So an easy way to connect with me would just be through my Instagram, which is Dan Christopherson, and it's just DanChristopherson. There's a climber on it, ice climbing, and that's my buddy Scott is my kind of little tag. And I haven't been huge online with my social media, but I want to start doing that more. You could reach out to me there. We do a lot of speaking engagements, and we'd be happy to do that as a service for any of your people who are following you. If they have a group that they would like to have us speak to, we'd be happy to do that. And the same goes for you, obviously. And then a couple websites, alnova.org is a great website to take you to our base location in New Hampshire. So it's alnoba.org. And then the Western division is just pinnaclewestltd.com. And that website, we're making some changes on it, but it should be up and going again here in a few days.
I love it. Okay, awesome. Well, Dan, so lovely to connect with you again. And to my Dream Big Nation podcast listeners, we are so blessed to be part of your day. We hope we're bringing you stories that will help you in your own life, and help you step into your God-gifted greatness. So friends, until we meet again, blessings to you in this amazing life journey. And we can't wait to see you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.